Every new chapter in our lives requires the end of another. Every decision we make allows one possibility to come into being and lets another one fall away. And often, it isn't the decision itself that feels difficult, but the inner movement that precedes it. My teacher often says, what matters is not which decision you make. What matters is that something moves within you. Put differently, life is not about right or wrong, it is about decisions. And movement arises precisely where we are willing to make one. I see this in myself and I see it in my work with clients as well. There are moments where it feels as if we are standing between two worlds. One part of us already sensing what wants to emerge, while another part is still letting go of what has been. In these moments, we often forget to pause. We keep moving, keep trying to do it right, and miss the grief that naturally comes with transition. Because something real is being released. An old version of ourselves is not being erased, but integrated. That process can feel messy, disorienting, and even chaotic at times. There is nothing wrong with that. But because it feels so chaotic at times is that change is asking us to slow down, to feel, and to allow the ending before the next beginning fully takes shape. Early on, it became important for me to understand how deeply our present-day choices are shaped by past experiences, conditioning, and inner images. And how often we believe we are choosing consciously while something within us is responding from fear, from protection, or from old loyalties. Much of this unfolds beneath what the thinking mind can grasp. We do not know what we do not know. And because of that, we often accept inner suffering as normal. The tightness in the chest, the panic in certain situations, the jealousy that suddenly ignites in the body. We may recognize the origin, we may understand the pattern, we may know the story, and still the body reacts. But what if all of this carries information? Like the leaflet inside a medication, explaining what is active and why. Not to remove something, but to understand on which level this experience is actually taking place. In this episode, and it is also the first one of 2026 in English, at least also according to how we count time, I explore the relationship between ego, consciousness, and inner movement. And I also introduce QHHT, a method that helps especially when we feel that we are standing at the threshold, and a method that begins exactly where the mind grows quieter.
Welcome to Masculinity Now with Arabella Tornau.
Between what we consciously perceive and what works within us on a deeper level, there is an inner threshold. In psychology, this is known as the critical factor. The critical factor sits between the conscious and the subconscious mind. It filters perception continuously. It evaluates thoughts, organizes impulses, and decides what enters conscious awareness and what does not. This is where what we experience as the ego resides. Everything we recognize about ourselves passes through this filter. Every insight, every analysis, every understanding arises within this framework. And that is why self-observation alone can only take us so far. This is also where mental projection becomes visible. We meet a person, a situation, a moment, and something within us overlays it with an inner image. We see less of what is actually present and more of what we already know. Past experiences and stored impressions are quietly transferred onto the present. The mind is very, very skilled at this. It categorizes, compares, and tries to fit the unfamiliar into familiar structures. This creates a sense of safety, and at the same time, it also limits perception. An example from my own experience. I have been in relationships where my trust was violated and where I lost touch with myself. In my current relationship, I notice that old experiences sometimes come to the surface and subtly shape how I perceive the present moment. I also have a very understanding and patient partner, and still there are moments when these themes arise. In those moments, I respond less to what is actually happening and more to what feels familiar. And this is exhausting. For me, for my partner, even for my mind. Because the mind becomes louder, it tells stories, it searches for control, it jumps from thought to thought. And it has grown quieter, yes. But it has not disappeared yet. The difference is, though, that I notice it sooner now, and I can hold my thoughts and emotions before they take hold of me. And fair enough, this is the essential point. Because this work is not about eliminating thoughts or fighting them. It is about noticing and bringing attention back without feeding them. Back into the moment, back into what is actually here now. With this returning, projection gradually loses its power. And yet, everything perceived in this way still unfolds within the same inner framework. The critical factor remains active. It continues to filter, organize, and determine what is consciously accessible. This is where a threshold becomes noticeable. Not because presence stops working, but because it operates within this framework. And to access what lies beneath the critical factor, a shift in consciousness is needed. A state in which this inner gatekeeper softens for a moment, allowing perception without immediate categorization or control. And this is why hypnosis is so meaningful. From this understanding, I dedicate this episode to a method from my own work. One I deeply, deeply value and one that expanded my own consciousness many years ago and still does. This method is called QHHT. QHHT stands for Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique. It is a researched and established form of regression hypnosis developed by Dolores Cannon. One of the pioneers of this field, because for over more than 45 years, she explored the subconscious mind, past lives, and their influence on human consciousness. QHHT works with a state of very deep relaxation, in which inner pressure softens and the mind gradually steps into the background. In this state, we reach the deepest level of hypnosis, the so-called somnambulistic state. This is where a key difference to classical hypnosis becomes apparent, because in this state, access to a higher level of consciousness opens. Many people encounter not only memories, but a clear inner knowing. Guidance and answers that do not arise from thinking, but from a deeper level of being. They do not need to be analyzed or constructed. They emerge. And this is what makes QHHT distinct. And it is also what makes it therapeutically valuable. The answers do not come from outside. They do not come from my interpretation or knowledge. They arise from within you. And insights that emerge from one's own inner source tend to be more precise, more honest, and more sustainable than anything offered externally. Many people have asked me what a QHHT session is actually like. The interesting part is that the process begins before the hypnosis itself, at the moment you decide to book a session. By making the decision, you're not only making the decision to book the session, you're also making the decision to bring your own consciousness to a higher level. And that is actually, in my opinion, where the actual healing takes place. You are ready to move into a different direction within yourself. You're ready to explore, to integrate, to neutralize parts within you that need your attention, to see things clearer and to become more wiser. On the day of the session, we begin with an in-depth conversation. We clarify your intention, address questions, and create an inner framework of safety. This is followed by the hypnosis itself, which usually lasts around 2 hours. You are gently guided into deep relaxation where inner focus shifts. Topics that are difficult to access in everyday life may become clearer, not through thinking, but through experience. You will remain fully present throughout. You are not unconscious, you are not absent, you are not controlled, and you are not out of control. This is very important. You hear my voice, you are aware of yourself. You can speak at any time. Actually, many people describe the state as somewhere between waking and sleeping, very present and also deeply calm. Skepticism is welcome, uncertainty is welcome. Some people move, need a break, or briefly come out of relaxation. All of this is normal. We continue calmly without pressure. Again, there is no loss of control. After the session, integration matters. When you visit me in person, I usually prepare a meal. It will be something very grounding. Probably potatoes, and probably some vegetables. And that helps you to return fully into the body and in the present moment. QHHT does not require belief. It works through experience. People often come with recurring emotional patterns, relationship dynamics, inner blocks, or a sense of disorientation. Often it is not about understanding more, but also recognizing more deeply. Many people feel clearer or calmer after a session. Some effects appear immediately, others unfold quietly in the days or even weeks and months that follow. That is very important to know because QHHT works subtle, but very sustainable. Unlike classical hypnosis, QHHT relies less on suggestion. Change arises not through intervention, but through insight, through your own insight. QHHT will also not show you anything that overwhelms you. What emerges always corresponds to your inner stability in that moment. And even when nothing seems to happen, something may still be shifting. Quietly but meaningfully. I can remember my first experience with QHHT. That happened around 8 years ago. And this is really important that you listen to that right now, because you need to release every expectations. You can't be attached to the outcome. Also, if you read Dolores Cannon books and you were reading about all the past lives that clients were receiving and perceiving, and you're reading about all the dimensions and about aliens and about all the crazy things, you need to release that, because maybe it won't happen this way. I did not release the expectations. I had expectations, and back then my ego was stronger than my ego is now. So when I arrived at the practitioner, my ego was holding on. And years after that, I realized that I needed this experience because I was not ready for anything different at that point. Years later, I had my experiences, but only because I was not attached to them anymore. And they helped me, and I was understanding them, and every memory that came up. But the first session that I received cracked something open within myself. I think the practitioner was a little bit disappointed by herself because she thought that she didn't do everything right. But now, being a practitioner as well, I realize that this is exactly the experience that this soul, in my case it was me, that this soul needed to experience, because anything beyond that would have interrupted with my consciousness back at that time. So when she left the room and when she asked me, okay, I will leave you here to really, be with yourself, something inside of myself felt a lot of emotions. She left the room, she closed the door, and I immediately started to cry. I thought, okay, this session was a disaster because she was not really able to put me down. I didn't see anything, I didn't feel anything, I didn't notice anything, I was not in a past life, blah, 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 blah. But actually what happened was, she was able to guide me to my own breaking point, because something within myself needed to crack open, so the light came through. And now I'm sitting here recording a podcast, supporting people around the world in their own life journey, and I'm just beyond grateful for her. And so what I think I want to say with that is, you need to release all expectation about QHHT, because if you find a practitioner, there is a reason why you're there, and there is also a reason why certain things will arise or not. And QHHT does also exist between insight and integration. It is neither classical therapy nor pure spirituality, because it is a space for self-exploration. The more work you've done, the more open you are, and often a single session is also enough, not because it resolves everything, but because it establishes contact. Something begins to move on its own. So also about that, you are not coming, you don't have a QHHT session and you expect after one session all of your problems to go away. The session is here to actually tell you what's going on in your subconscious. You will give yourself the answers, and it's 100% up to you if you continue to work on these answers and if you continue to listen to yourself. And if you don't want to put the effort in, chances are that everything will stay the same or will go back as it was before. It's your responsibility. We as practitioner can guide you, lead you the way, give you space to really soften, to trust, and to allow consciousness to arise, to come through us, and to help you move so that you actually become freer and more loving towards yourself. For this reason, QHHT is not designed for those seeking quick fixes or external answers. It unfolds most powerfully where there is willingness to look inward. And again, take responsibility for one's own process. And before closing, I want to share something personal. This year, I am publishing my first book. In it, I write openly about my experiences with the ego, with karma, and with what I have come to understand so far. The second part includes insight from clients across different QHHT sessions, experiences that can gently unsettle and expand awareness. For now, I will publish this book in German, but my motivation and my goal is to also translate it into English, hopefully by the end of next year. Before I truly close, there is one more thought that shapes both my work and my life. We often hear the phrase, everything is connected. We read it, we repeat it, we accept it, and for a long time, I truly did not hold it. Through experience, something deeper opened. I do believe everything is connected and that we are not separate units but part of a larger whole. I do believe that we are multi-dimensional beings having a human experience and that we are made of energy. When our energy falls out of balance, we often do as well, physically, emotionally, mentally. And my teacher once said, when illness arises, something is not in love. What I now share here is not certainty, but lived experience. I have sensed pain that did not feel that the pain belonged to me. It felt that the pain belonged to my feminine lineage. Something that I carried within myself, something inherited, and this leads me to the idea of parallel existence. Also that past lives may not be over, but simultaneous. And that healing today may ripple backward and forward across generations. Sensitivity plays also a role here, because the more sensitive we are, the more we perceive. And when perception is not integrated, it can become overwhelming. Because I also only not sense pain that doesn't feel personal, I also have dreams that require conscious grounding when I wake up. That awareness helps me meet fear with clarity. And for me, this is not about explaining everything, but it is about responsibility and about how we relate to what we perceive. I guess what I want to say is that the more we know about ourselves and the more we know about transcendental knowledge and the wisdom that comes with that and the teachings, and the more we lean into it and dig a deeper hole in it, the more we empower ourselves to be less distracted by our thoughts, by our fears, and by past experiences. We stay present, we stay connected to ourselves, and that helps us to lead our life with love and clarity. If this episode has stirred something within you, or if you feel curious about QHHT, you are very welcome to reach out. All information, process, FAQs, pricing is available on my website. Until very soon, and have a good one.